Okay, welcome back. This is Chapter 1, or actually Module 1, Workshop 1, but I'm still going to use the word chapters. Hey, give me a break. So on page 45, they have the learning objectives. Let's just go through it. So, grab your little book, follow along. So the objectives are, understand spreadsheet terminology and components. Yep, that'd be good. Navigate within worksheets and within workbooks, and navigate among worksheets. Yep. Document your work. Yep. Enter and edit data. Manipulate cell and cell ranges. Manipulate column and column rows. Manipulate worksheets and workbooks. And preview, export, and print worksheets. We're going to drop a few of that last one. But essentially we're going to cover it all. Okay, so let's start up on page 46 about the terminologies that we're using here. They talk about a spreadsheet application, which in our case, of course, is just plain old Microsoft Excel. I mean, there are others, but this is the spreadsheet application. Cool. These concepts are not tough, but this is a row. Woohoo! I bet you didn't figure that out. And I bet you could think, yay, that's a column. Well, the intersection of a row and a column is a cell. Okay, this is not rocket science. So, row, column, and cell. So, this is how you navigate around to find a location in an Excel spreadsheet is by, row and column, and the intersection being the cell. There's also things called formulas, which we're not doing in this chapter, and functions, which we're not doing in this chapter either. But they're terms that you need to know, so they're here. If you're in the database world, they use slightly different terms to describe the exact same thing. So database people call this, instead of calling it a row, they call it a record. Okay? And instead of calling this a column, they call those fields. Okay, so it's just different terminology describing the same thing. Okay, so a workbook is this thing. Workbook is the file, okay? So if I go out to the Explorer, these are Excel documents. I have the extensions turned on, if you recall from the last video how we did that. So I have an XLSX file extension. So these are workbooks. So workbook is the file, and inside a file is a worksheet. And so here they are down here, sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. So a single workbook can have many worksheets. Got it. Cool. On page 48, they're talking about, opening, saving, and saving as. We kind of sort of did that with the common features video, but we'll go through it again. So I go to the backstage to be able to do any of that. So I'll go here and I hit open. Now, obviously, it's got some list of some really cool things in here from previous stuff. But I go to open, I go to Chapter 1, for example, and I click on this thing on golf carts. And up pops, woohoo! And if I want to do a save, same thing, I go to the back, I hit save. Now, I haven't actually changed anything, so there's nothing really going on. If I wanted to make another copy, I would, like copy 1 and copy 2. I would do a save as, and then it'll prompt me for a name. So the difference between save and save as is, do you really want to overwrite the old version or not? Okay. There's a little warning in here, kind of cool little thing across the top talking about best practices, and that, yeah, you probably ought to be saving often if you have a document that you really care about. Particularly like during the thunderstorm. Yeah, if it was cloudy outside and thunder, I think I'd be saving really, really often, because I don't want to lose my work. On page 49, they talk about navigating. There's this thing called the active workbook. The active workbook is the one that you physically see. So that's actually, remember now, a single workbook can have different worksheets, okay? So, did I say that right? Okay. Anyway, worksheets down here. The active worksheet is the one you can physically see. There's another worksheet right here where it says golf cart purchase analysis. You can't see it until you clicked on it. So that means it's the active worksheet. So here's another one, active worksheet. Okay? So quite simply, the active worksheet is the one that you can see. So there are these little tabs down at the bottom. Now, in this particular case, I can only see right now, if we zoom into that, well, maybe that's not a good idea to zoom in. I can only see 3 of these guys, okay? But there's more than that. So one way of doing is this little scroll bar kind of takes up room on that line. So I could make it smaller. You know, go in here and grab this little guy and make the scroll bar smaller. That works for a while, but if you had like 30 of these worksheets, I don't want my scroll bar to that. So these little VCR controls over here, you know what I mean by VCR controls? Like, you know, the stop and the little diamond for forward and fast forward. Kind of the same thing as a VCR. Although, you know, we probably ought not be using that anymore because no one has VCRs. They have, you know, TiVo and that kind of stuff. Okay, so this is a way of rolling through the existing worksheets. Now, I'll admit the examples in the book are slightly different because Office 2013 has extra little doodad here. They have a little 3 little dot thing that allow you to go in and instead of just using the VCR controls, they have like an advanced button. Okay, it does the same thing. So heck, what the heck, right? Okay, so the active cell. If I click on a cell, notice that it's somehow different. 2 things you can notice. One is it has a very thick black border around the active cell, and it highlighted the row header and the column header in a different color to let you know that that's exactly what's going on. Okay, so if I just move around, you can see how it just highlights that one particular cell and, well, puts a thick border around it and then highlights the headers to let you know where you're at. So 2 visual cues to find out. There is another visual cue if you are actually paying attention, and that is right here. It's actually telling you where you are. And we'll talk about that in just a second. So on page 50, they talk about these things called cell addresses. And so that C9 is a cell address. What that basically means is column C. Did you notice that the columns are alphabetic and the rows are numeric? Cool. So you might think, wait a minute, there's only 26 letters in the alphabet. How many columns can I have? Well, let's go out to Z. What do you think is going to happen when I get to Z? Well, it's just going to do AA, and then AB, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So this little doodad is telling me that I'm at C9. Okay. So it should be, again, fairly obvious to know, like, you know, C4 would be like the 4th row and the 3rd column. You can navigate by either using the mouse like I did. I'm just clicking around. Or you can use the arrow keys on your keyboard just to advance to another one, right? I'm just, you know, using the arrow keys to kind of scoot around. Hey, whatever you're comfortable with, no big deal. There is another cool one, and that is, I know I want to go to, you know, M42. Well, there's a thing called Control G, okay? And Control G brings up this go-to box. And then I could just type, you know, whatever, M42, and hit the button, and boom, it brings me, of course, there's nothing there, but that's not the point. Okay, so the Control G thing. There's a quick reference on page 51 that basically shows you a lot more of those keyboard shortcuts. I'm not going to test you on, well, I don't think I'm going to test you on keyboard shortcuts because they're useful, okay? And if you want to learn them to make yourself a little bit more proficient, that's fantastic. But it's typically not the kind of questions that I ask on an exam. Okay, so navigating through worksheets and between worksheets, you know, so this is the worksheet, and that's a cell within the worksheet. Cool. On page 52, they talk about adding comments. So if I just kind of roll through here, I need to get back where I was. See those little red diamonds over here in the upper right-hand corner? What happens if I hover over that thing? Oh, there's a little comment. It says, retail price, commonly known as manufacturer's suggested retail price, or MSRP. So this is the way to document your stuff. So for example, if you were entering in data and you know, you didn't know what retail price meant, you might enter the wrong thing. So this is an explanation. And they call this self-documenting. So that inside your document, it basically answers every question. You're never, in theory, you should have it so that no junior person's ever going to call you on the phone and say, what the heck did you mean by loan annual interest rate. What does that mean? You know, because in theory, you're going to answer all those questions for them by putting these comments in. So how do you do these goofy little comments? Well, to add one, you go to the Review tab. So we start off on the Home tab. I'm going to go to the Review tab, and then click on the cell where you want to comment on, like loan annual interest rate. And I'm going to hit this little button here that says New Comment. And then you just type. Now, in this particular case, it knows who I am. So if there are multiple people working on this document, this is pretty cool. It's going to have the person's name. Now, if you never registered your software, you know, when you first fired up, it's asked you to like fill in your name and your initials. You probably don't ever remember that because that was like years ago when you installed this. Okay, whatever. That's what shows up here. So when I grade your papers, I'm going to be putting these little red check mark things in, okay? And they're going to have my name on them, okay? So cool, you'll know it's from me. Okay, so I'm going to go in here and say, I don't know, this is the APR. Okay, so I've added a comment. Now I'm going to go back to that comment, and whoops. And one of the things you can do is just flip through them. Go through every single comment in the entire thing. Just go through them all. Kind of cool. You can edit one. Clearly, you can go in here and add some more text or change things. Or, of course, you can actually delete one. And that beats... I'm going to go ahead and delete the one that I just did. Wait a minute. Oh, okay, over here. I'm about to say, wait a minute, I don't remember doing that. Okay, I'm going to hit this one, and poof, it's gone. So all these little things right here show me how to add a comment, how to delete a comment, how to edit a comment. There's some cool little work exercise in there. And just remember that when I grade your paper, hunt for those little red triangles in the upper right-hand corners, because that's how I'm going to be sending you stuff back. Okay. Just a little bit more about self-commenting by design. Use descriptive terms for things. Let's say, for example, I'm in the middle of this thing and I have UOM in a column. And I'm in the shipping and warehousing business, so I know that means unit of measure. Okay? But how many other people know what UOM is? So don't leave bizarre, strange, and industry acronyms in there without a comment. Okay? Okay, good. I'm glad you got that. Let's continue. On page 54, they talk about entering and editing data. Okay, that's pretty cool. So essentially how you enter data is you click on the cell where you want to do that, like I just did. I clicked on a cell, okay? And then I just fired up and started typing. That's not complicated, is it? Let's do it again. I'll click on this cell. And without doing anything else, I just type, hello, or 12, or whatever it is, okay? Now watch what happens if I just hit the return key. The return key terminates my data entry, so to speak, and then drops me down to the cell below as if it was prompting me to do it again. So you could type, this is going to be kind of weird, but, like Mary had a... okay, this is kind of dumb, but you see what I'm getting at is if you had a bunch of stuff in a column, you could just type, you'd hit return, and brrr, it'll fill your column in. Okay? Kind of cool. Now, I will tell you that as I was typing, if you were paying attention, this thing's called the formula bar up here, and the stuff appears in both places. Now, you might think, that's a little odd. Well, let's go here. Let's say, hello. Well, I'll go here, sorry. And I'm going to say, Mary had a little lamb. Okay. And then over here I say, that was a poem. Okay, so I can't actually see everything in there, can I? Okay, this is a good place to stop for the 15-minute mark. We'll just stop this right where it is. Come on back to the next video and we'll pick right up. Cool? See you in just a sec.